Dear friends, hello and welcome today to Donbass. We are with the Rubish unit, it's the National Guard. They have been engaged on the front for a long time. Today we will see a modernized T-72 tank. First, the T-72 tank is the Ukrainian workhorse. Before the war, they theoretically had 1,200, though not all operational. The Russians had 1,250 operational ones on their side. They also have T-80S and T-64S tanks in addition to other tanks, including the BV version, which is not just modernized, but is still being produced today in Ukraine. The Ukrainians secured numerous export contracts, which was a major advantage for them. So a good part of it was in storage, reused. And they received a lot from abroad. They got some from the Czech Republic, and they also received very modified versions like the PT-9 Atwardi that comes from Poland. And in total, since the beginning of the war, they have lost, confirmed, between 350 and 400 T-72 tanks in total, which means there are still several hundred left, like this one. The T-72 tank overall was a more modern version of the T-64 tank, but also more simplified. The goal was to be more rugged, more effective in combat and easier to maintain. And then there are dozens and dozens of versions because the base is solid. And so it was improved with detection systems and protection systems. For example, contact plates, these plates that are able to counter-explode to reduce the effect of, for instance, an anti-tank missile. And in total, hold on, 25,000 T-72 tanks have been built since the mid-1970s. For about 50 years, the unit I'm in, we're in the Donbass. We're really between Sloviansk and Kramatorsk on this eastern front where things are really heating up. They have 4 T-72 tanks. 2 of them are old T-72 tanks. One modernized tank is seen here, and another modernized one was captured from the Russians. Apparently it's completely normal. They've actually captured hundreds since the beginning. That's why there are now also T-90 tanks in the Ukrainian army. And overall it's the same chassis, it works the same way, and the cannons use the same shells. There are many ammunition crates around me, but I won't show you all of them. It's a 125mm caliber. It can perform direct fire and also fire indirectly. Despite the Russians' persistent efforts, their progress is diminishing as their tactics are proving ineffective in the current situation. So they use it more as an artillery piece that will stay here in place. And when the Russians launch an assault, they'll simply turn their cannon and fire at them. Depending on the target they have to attack, whether it's a Russian trench, because the Russian trenches are within range from where we are, 10 to 11 kilometers as an artillery piece. They will use various ammo types. There are munitions that are specifically designed to hit bunkers, to strike a field where there might be a Russian assault. Guys, it's an unexpectedly cold April with temperatures dropping from 18 to around 0 degrees in just 2 days. Anyway, so they're going to adapt depending on what they're targeting in front of them. And in this way, they'll be able to stop the attacks that are being made. On the Russian side, what's interesting when we talk to them is the evolution. For the past 2 or 3 years they've been here, they see that when the Russians advance, it's less and less. With armored vehicles, they're less and less equipped. Now they conduct rapid assaults to swiftly cross open fields, using vehicles unsuitable for combat. That means they'll go in with 4x4s, with more civilian equipment, and more than half of the assaults are carried out without any support. The Russians are firing less artillery, indicating they can no longer sustain firing thousands of shells almost continuously. Today they fire while trying to aim accurately, which makes sense, you'll tell me. However, it also implies that the Russians lack the capability they once had to persistently shell the front lines. The commander, who is next to me but not shown, explains how the unit works. He's going to send his DJI Mavic drone, so he is a drone pilot. He will send it to the nearby Russian position he is currently scouting. And he will coordinate his 4 tanks to give them the position. And he is the one who will directly correct the shots to be able to fire more to the right, more to the left, to improve the effectiveness of his shots. If there was ever a need for reinforcement or direct fire, now is the time. At that moment, as the commander, he will have his radio and talk to the other guys around him. and eventually he will be guided by the other drone teams who are closer to the field and who will be able to help them know where the enemies are in front of them. We're going to take a look around this T-72 tank, which has already been modernized. Obviously the driver's seat, which is usually here, he opens the hatch, of course it opens right here, and then when we go on top, there you go. Here we can mainly see the upgrades compared to previous versions. This is a night vision optic. You don't have, like we had on previous versions, the infrared spotlight. Either you have infrared headlights that allow you to light up in front of you, which is invisible to the naked eye. But with the modernization of sensor detection systems, you get detected more and more when you use an infrared headlight. But the Russians do it a lot, whereas in fact any drone you buy on the market today is able to see it. When they light up at night, sure, it gives the impression of being invisible, but in fact they get detected very, very quickly. So here it's light intensification, and then it's simply spotlights. So you have a few spotlights on the right, on the left, on the device, and also one on the back. As you can see here, what's on top is an electronic warfare system that was added for protection. I don't need to explain to you that above me, that's the feedback from the war experience. You have this protective net so you can prevent grenades from falling on us, and of course FPVs from attacking us. Despite efforts, the skirt, bearings and other components will always have vulnerable spots. That's for launching smoke grenades, meaning to create a smoke screen around us. Especially so that anti-tank missiles can't find us anymore, because anti-tank missiles are often guided by a laser beam. In this version there's no laser detector, so it's unknown if we're being targeted. So all of this is also done to protect ourselves and the people around us. The contact plates, that's counter-explosive, and here it will trigger upon impact. And here you also have optics, because once again you have a vehicle with only 3 people on board. This reduced operational costs and staffing requirements. And you have the pilot here, the gun manager and the tank commander, all 3 of whom will coordinate and work together. The secondary weapon, a .50 caliber machine gun, was relocated closer to the front. Since the rear one isn't urgent to use, there's no rush. And coaxial, next to the main gun, there's a 7.62 caliber gun with a heavy machine gun that allows you to attack a group of infantry without needing to use a 125mm shell. One of the features, obviously once again on these Soviet tanks, is that you have a carousel inside with the ammunition, which allows the loader to load it without needing a 4th crew member. So it's a system that's still relatively recent. In fact, only the Soviets and of course the Charles Leclerc have such an efficient system. Now we're going inside a little bit here. So here we have, I'm on the right. Here you have the gun manager, and here you have the tank commander. So the tank commander right in front. Here you have this famous light intensification camera. And on the sides you have the episcopes, which are a bit like periscopes in submarines. Allows you to look outside, even if you don't have electronics anymore, etc. Simply with a set of mirrors you can see inside. Here you have the one who will operate the cannon, so him as well. He has all the firing tables, all the usual systems that you see on all the tanks of this generation. Once again, because it's not something recent, here's the view through the gun's sight. Not bad, right? And here on the right you have, unsurprisingly, the loading system with the back of the gun. Here at the very bottom you have the carousel in which the shells will rotate, the one responsible for the gun. Here he's going to engage this there and bam, it fires, with all the elements in front of him that allow for significant accuracy on his target. And the commander, who is theoretically here, is the one who will coordinate the teams. And by the way, we can see that the radio is there. Now, of course, the antennas, which are traditionally on top of the tanks, they can't use them anymore. They're forced to use the metal framework that's above us. Well, you can see that this one, though, has taken a few hits here. There was some shrapnel that hit it when it was engaged on the front. Now that the Russians can't get through anymore, to put our buddies in danger, who are up front when the infantry isn't in danger, there's no need to engage the tanks. And since the Russians can no longer break through the defenses, they no longer need to be engaged. Just like in the past. For over 6 months, the Russians have been making less progress each month. In October, they had occupied 800 square kilometers. Now they're around 150 square kilometers for the month of March. It's less and less, even though they're still taking the same amount of losses. And you can actually hear artillery firing in the distance, the T-72 tank. Like the chassis, it's proven solid, and there are many different versions and derivatives that are based on this same chassis. For example, we can talk about the Brem 1, which is used for recovering the heavy flamethrower system 1A, which is a thermobaric rocket launcher. There's the famous Boyovaya Mashina Podezhki tank of Terminator, which the Russians believed was invincible until it saw action. Here there's the 2S-19 howitzer, and there's the BRM-3, which also does demining. So those positions are considered a bit easier because the guys on the zero line, meaning right at the front, they stay for 2 weeks, supplied by drones to minimize rotations and movement. And every 2 weeks they rotate, while here they tend to stay 24 hours, and so I'm going to give you an exclusive tour of the Lantre. So here they are, and for 24 hours they stay here, and if it was necessary, just like that, in a few minutes they activate the tank and they fire, just like that. So careful, I'm not going to draw you a picture, but it's a chamber. They open the door, but it's heated here, so we're dealing with high temperatures. It must be around 15 to 18 degrees. They have eco-floats, they have electrical systems, they have generators, they have the drone ready to go, they have what they need to cook, and they have the little wood stove with the pipe that carries the heat far away, or rather the chimney far away. That way the location isn't identified like that. And here they have the different types of shells. The advantage of the T-72 is that everyone has one. With the ammunition, everyone has it. It's very easy to find. And so in the countries that supported Ukraine, with the T-72, you have countries from the Middle East, European countries, spare parts that arrived, countries like Morocco, etc. So that they are also very grateful to have international support that is not limited to Europe, NATO, or the United States. They know that before, the whole world is helping them, and you can also see that when you look at the markings on the ammunition boxes. Then, by the way, before I leave, here is their little bunker, and here is the Starlink station. But let me be clear, they need you. Because here there is a warfare and jamming system against drones that is not installed here.